Right. Yeah, I was approached by a guy called Simon Pettifer, who was who's the head of a small press called Black Spring Press, and basically I signed a contract with him to write a book. Actually, the book was supposed to be 12 stories, fiction stories about 12 heroes that I had. And I'd done one, he'd read one which I'd written about Blind Lemon Jefferson. And so we made some agreement to do that, and he gave me a year to do it in, gave me a bit of money. And I just started writing, and this story started to evolve, and eventually I just decided that rather than sit down and write a novel-sized amount of work of short stories, when I'd actually just write a novel and a story. And I'd had this story sort of bubbling in my head for a while anyway. So I just sat down and wrote and wrote the story, which took about 5 years or so.
It's very the story of Euclid is set in something or a specific atmosphere which is very reminiscent of the American South and the religiosity and all of that. Is the influence from the American South? Is it Australian outback? What is it?
It's I mean, it's a fictional South. It's my own mythological South, because I mean, none of it's really true. There's been absolutely no research done about the South from my point of view. I'd never even been to the South when I wrote this book, but at the same time I spent the first 13 years of my life as in a country town as a country boy, basically, and I think that's where all that information that's there, the detail, the obsessive detail that the character goes on about, comes from. I mean, the story is set around the sugarcane industry, which I read a pamphlet of I don't know, 2 pages on how sugarcane is grown and manufactured, you know, that they hand out in schools or something like that, and that's the amount of information, factual research that I did in regard to that. So the whole book, in a sense, the flora, the fauna, everything is completely bogus, and it is my own, shall we say, fictional, imaginative South.
Which is very, in a sense, very, very violent, which is something that's indicative in your lyrics as well. Violent, not in the sense of force violent, but violent of the imagination.
You know, I just enjoy writing about that. You know, I mean, I just find that the stories lead me in that direction, and it just excites me. You know, it literally excites me to write about that.
The language you use is also reminiscent of the Old Testament. It's got that, it's apocalyptic in a sense, which makes it very difficult for Greeks to translate it into Greek as well.
That's good. I like it to make it hard on the translators. I mean, it's a translator's nightmare, the book, I would say. But the idea, and I guess the sense of humour of the book, which is something that I'm sure is continually lost in translation, is that what I wanted to try and do was create the central character's a mute. He can't speak, so he has this he has no real relationship with the language. He can't speak. So his own language in his own mind is this bizarre collection of this sort of mongrel language of biblical gutter language, you know, and his own made-up words and so forth. So it's just this yeah, this kind of mongrel language that he thinks in, and I'm very interested in language anyway, so it seemed like for me, a perfect way to express myself, because the boy himself couldn't actually speak.
But you've also got this whole idea of the twin brother that's already died, who presumably had the language or whatever. I don't know, that's my own personal thing. I don't know why I mean, I was sitting there thinking, why is he mute, in a sense?
Well, for exactly the reason I told you. Because he is mute, I, as a writer, could create a language and get away with it, which perhaps I couldn't do if I was writing a different sort of a story. I mean, there is a reason why there are words in it that every second page there's a word that 99.9% of the English population has never heard before, and I felt that was okay to do that, because the boy doesn't speak, so he can have any language he likes. There is humour in that. There is humour. There is a deliberate humour on my part to have written passages in that book which people can't understand, simply because, unless they have a very big dictionary or a very big thesaurus like I had.
Compare writing a book with writing lyrics?
Pardon?
How do you compare writing a book with writing lyrics?
Well, it's different. It's a different thing altogether, really. I mean, even though I'm bashing away at the same themes in both the writing and the book, I mean, there's the obvious thing. To write a book is a very long, lonely, isolated process, and it takes a very long time. Well, I've written one book, and I had to become very much involved with this character, and very obsessed with this character, and the whole book was a very obsessive process. And so you've got that on the one hand. Writing song lyrics is more something that you can do, you know, at any time. Lyrics, words come into your mind. I got a terrible memory. I have a completely, I have half a memory, but one thing that I can remember perfectly in any state of mind is a lyric that comes into my head. I don't know why that is, but I wake up in the morning, like, you know, I can be drunk out of my head the night before, or whatever the situation is, and I can always remember it if I think of a line that pops into my head. I can always remember that. So what I'm trying to say is his songwriting is something that is like patching together things, and over a period of time you get a collection of songs. Writing a book, you sit down by yourself at a typewriter and you journey. You go on a journey, and no one can go on it with you, basically.
It's more disciplined as well. You need discipline.
Well, the writing of my book was hardly disciplined, I would say. I mean, it was discipline didn't really come into it, which is one of the kind of miracles, in my view, that the book ever got made, because it was.